This is Mike Donahue, and you are on Groomed.Connect, and we have an odd little group here. We are doing a podcast from the home of a young lady that's friends with both of Brian and I, and Brian's wife Cheryl's here today. Say hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
And so we decided to come here. We didn't want to do this over the computer because this is kind of a sensitive interview. That'll make sense in a little bit, but don't forget to just subscribe and like our channel, and you'll get more of these videos. But right now, right next to me, I have a young lady next to me named Jen Mossy Christensen, and she's going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her. And so go ahead, Jen. We're going to share the microphone a little bit.
All right. I'm Jen Mossy. I'm a mom of 4, 2 grandchildren. I own a business. Happy to be here. Awesome. And share my story. Yeah.
So the story goes that you were a student at Bellevue Christian Academy back in the 80s, right?
Yes.
You graduated in 1990?
1990.
99.
Yep.
So, yeah. So
1990.
1990.
I wish it was 99.
90. And what was it like going? It was a private school in Bellevue. Well, actually, it was in South Omaha, but It was out of Bellevue Christian Center. What was it like going to that school as a young person?
It was fun. It was just like any other, I wouldn't know. I've never been to nothing but a private school, but it was really strict. There's a lot of rules. But I didn't know anything other than that, so it didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
But I was just like any other kid. I was a cheerleader and played basketball and had friends and just yeah. I mean,
normal
childhood. Kid. Yeah.
So you, Jeannie Mayo was the superintendent of that school, and she was a big presence there, wasn't she? Wasn't she around a lot?
Yeah,
and
she was.
What was that like, having her around? And what was her involvement? As you got to be a teenager, I'm sure she wasn't involved in the elementary stuff as much as she was in the older kids. What was it like having her around? Did she do Bible classes? Did she?
Do you want me to be honest?
Yeah.
I hated it when she was around.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
Why?
She just was. She wasn't around the elementary. She was only around high schoolers. She just had a lot of energy, and I just, as a child, I could see right through her.
Really?
But,
were you kind of scared of her? Like, was she kind of?
No, she was scary.
Yeah. In what ways? Like,
just intimidating. Very intimidating. She only surrounded herself with, I hate to say Bible thumpers because that sounds bad, but that's basically people that were really spiritual or people that really had problems. But the people that were just good kids, she didn't give the time of day.
Really?
And I was one of them. Which is the ones that you should probably pat on the back and say, "How are you doing? Good job." But yeah, unless if you gave her what she needed or wanted, then she liked you.
So
I was too shy.
So you were even then seeing sort of this favoritism that happened with kids that were basically doing what she wanted them to do.
Yes.
And you drew a distinction between like all the similarities actually with kids that were in trouble or kids that were like
ultra spiritual that were involved in her church group, Sperino.
Oh, okay. So if you were in Sperino, you were one of those kids. Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And I was in Sperino.
Right. But you just weren't.
I just got yelled at for going to the bathroom.
No, they did. They used to get really.
Oh, yeah. Me and a few others.
Where did you go to the bathroom?
I just went to the bathroom. I honestly had to go to the bathroom. I'm like, this is so weird that I can't go to the bathroom without getting called out.
If you didn't hear that, Brian asked where she went to the bathroom. So
yeah. Did I get that? Did I miss something there?
No, you were good.
You didn't go on the floor.
No, okay, yeah, no, I went in the bathroom.
So Jen, I knew you back then.
Yeah.
And I was see, if you graduated 90, I graduated in 81. So I was 9 years older than you, but I was a leader. Mm-hmm. And I remember you coming in there. I'm just going to be really honest. I was a young man in my 20s. You were beautiful. and
Thank you.
noticed you as a very pretty girl. You notice those things, for Jesus. Anyways,
For Jesus.
no, but
Yeah.
and I say that because that's pretty obvious to everybody, and it ended up being obvious to a specific teacher that worked at the school, a
Correct.
coach, that even at a younger age, you started noticing that he was using, you probably didn't know these terms then, but there was some grooming techniques. There was some things
Right.
he was starting to pay attention to you, and he noticed you in the hallway. What was that like at first when this coach began to do that? You were 14, right? You were young.
Gosh, looking back at it, then I didn't even know what the word groomed was, but now that I'm an adult, now I know what it is. It makes sense now. I just thought that, well, of course it felt good to be a favorite, teacher's pet. That's really all I thought it was. I just thought,
So at first
But-
it was innocent. It was like, this guy
100%.
he just wants to help me.
The guy's married and has kids and he's my teacher. So that never even crossed my mind. Like, no.
Right.
I mean, my nickname in high school was Prude.
Was it really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was terrified of like, don't touch me,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was a good girl. So
Well,
I think he preyed on that though, looking back at it. He knew my, what am I trying to say?
Like he knew that you,
My innocence. My innocence.
do you think he was attracted to that?
Probably. I mean,
Or maybe thought he
gross.
could take advantage
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Because you were
exactly.
naive and
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. For
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, that went on for a while where he was just sort of being nice to you. And then when did
Right.
you notice, and what did he do? You noticed he started getting more aggressive as far as wanting something more than just a casual,
Right.
mentor-mentee relationship. What was
Yeah.
what was going on there?
What happened was, I think it was the I want to say it was my senior year, or was it my junior year? I think it was my junior year. Gosh. Anyway, we had like retreats, before like school. I think when school started. Was it when school started? Is that when they did it, like the beginning of the year? Was it after?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, it was an altar call at the end, and Bellevue Christian, which I hated. They always made everything so emotional, and I'm not an emotional person. I just never liked being like that. So anyway, I always just kind of sat in the back or sat at my chair, and people would go up to the front and whatever. And he came up to me and sat by me and said, I have a confession I need to talk to you about. And he started crying and said he has feelings for me. And
Wow.
holy
How old
crap,
were you?
that
Do you
I was 16 or 17. Blew me away. I mean, how does a 16-year-old handle information like that?
Right.
You tell your best friend it's what you do, and then you keep it a secret because, I mean, at first it was kind of giggly, like, oh my gosh, but it's like your fun little secret. But I mean, it's a really bad position to be in because you don't know who to tell or who's going to believe you or, yeah. And honestly, it was kind of like, I don't know.
Flattering.
Yeah.
Sure.
For him, because everybody liked him,
Right.
and he was not nice to people he didn't like. He had favorites too.
Well,
So,
like just to camp on that a little bit, just for you that are watching this, I know this individual, we all do.
Right.
And, he was larger than life as far as,
Yep.
his influence at the school. And, he was, if you got his favor, that was a big deal for guys and girls. I mean, because a lot of guys wanted his attention.
I mean, he wasn't a god, but when you're 16 years old,
Pretty close to it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So he says that.
Yeah.
What happens after that?
Well, I mean, and then obviously my folks didn't know about it. My mom had asked him to tutor me in history, I believe it was. And we sat in a private room, which never, of course, now these days, you don't set a girl in with a man, especially him. Looking back at it now, it's ridiculous, but nobody knew. I mean, times were different then, and no blame game with anybody there. But he was tutoring me, and he like put his leg up against mine, and I was like, is that am I feeling? Is that what I think he's doing? Actually, I think that happened. No, that happened before he told me.
Before he told you.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would have been like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. So that was before that. So then that didn't really shock me when he told me that because I had a feeling. So I kept moving my leg over and he kept moving it towards me. I'm like, dude, aren't we just supposed to like help me in history?
Right.
This
ain't history.
Yeah. This is not history. You're going to be history.
Right.
Yeah.
Classic grooming.
Right. Yeah.
And that is a classic
right,
grooming move.
right.
It's
To see how I'm going to react.
Right. He's testing you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then he tells you that he likes you, and then so more meetings happen, more things.
Okay. Yeah.
And it progressed.
Yeah, it did. Unfortunately, it did because I was sorry, my allergies. I was flattered by it, and he just what would happen is he would start passing notes to me in the hallway, and back then we didn't have phones and whatever, so he would pass me notes and he would tell me to rip them up, but I didn't rip any of them up.
Really?
Oh no, I kept them all.
Did you really?
Oh yeah,
wow.
I did. I kept them all. So it's a good thing that I did, considering how it all came out, because those were found.
Okay.
So anyway.
Yeah. So
having said that, yeah.
Yeah. So having said that, then it kept progressing, and then it got into a physical thing.
Yeah, I would go meet him places. I would meet him before games, or we'd meet after games, and
your parents didn't know anything.
No.
Right. Where'd they think you were?
We didn't have phones back then, right. So I would say I'm at a friend's, or I'm going to Burger King or Godfather's or whatever, what we would do before or after a game. And I would meet him before I would go meet my friends. It's so awful looking. Like I should have been hanging out with my friends.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, just time stolen. But so we would meet and at parks and whatnot. And
a lot of kissing and that.
Gross, but yeah. I mean,
just want to be clear.
It is what it is.
So,
I mean,
that's okay.
Yeah, no one's dumb.
Yeah. We just want to be clear so the listeners know exactly. It wasn't just talking.
No.
And then, okay, so then a note, you kind of alluded to the note.
Yeah.
The note got found.
Yeah.
By your sister, was it?
Well, she said that to me, and I totally forgot about that. I thought it was one of my
friends.
Gals, and I think that actually did happen too. So both of them, my friend's mom that I graduated with, her mom found a note after it was the night of graduation. Yeah,
it slipped out of your bag.
Must have, yeah. So then he was confronted, and there we go.
So, okay, so then
you know what? I'm pretty sure
Brian asked who confronted him.
Yeah, I think it was Carol Morkert. Yes, because
one of the administrators.
I know the next day, my mother had said to me, "Is this what's going on?" Because this was blah blah blah, and I said, "Yeah." And so they pulled a meeting. Well, he had actually got a hold of me and told me, because I didn't know that it got found out. So he got a hold of me and told me, "Look, here's what I told you to rip up those notes and all that," and was blaming me now. Right, because he didn't do anything wrong.
Right. So he turned it on you.
Oh, of course he turned it around on me, because now he's busted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
Anyway, Carol Morkert had a meeting. They all had a meeting. He was there. I think Sister J might have been there, or came. Jeannie. Yeah, I don't like calling her that. Sorry. Yeah, Jeannie.
Mom. Just kidding.
No, ew. Oh, that makes my stomach turn. Because I am a mom, and that's what a mom is what I'm doing, not that.
Right.
Anyway. So I think, I can't remember if she was there or not, but Carol Morkert, and I don't know who else, my parents, I think, but
okay.
I think she flew in later.
Were you in the meeting?
No,
they had a meeting
without me
to figure out what to do.
Right.
Did anybody talk to you about like helping you?
Well, Sister J, I think, flew back in, and again, it's really foggy because it was 35 years ago. I mean, I still remember everything, but just those little bits and pieces. I do know she pulled me. I know she pulled. Maybe it wasn't at a class. I know I was sitting in the hallway with her, but school was out though.
She found you.
She found me either way. It doesn't matter how it happened.
Yeah, but maybe you're going to practice.
Yeah, we sat in the hallway, and of course she cried and got emotional, and basically was telling me to hush about it, that she's going to deal with it, and they're going to deal with it the way they need to deal with it, and just to keep it between us.
So not
Yeah.
to go to the police, not to tell your parents.
Right. No.
Your parents knew some stuff,
my parents already
but
knew,
they
yeah.
didn't know
Yeah.
everything.
Well, they told my parents not to go to the police because they were going to handle it. And back
Okay.
then times have changed now. Now
Right.
it'd be 100% we go to the police.
Yeah.
You know, back then I think we were very trusting family, as they should have been, you know. They did all they could at that time, what they knew. So, yeah, they didn't, but they were told not to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your parents believed that they were going to take care of like this person,
Right.
and make sure that he got out,
Yeah.
not teaching anymore,
Yeah.
and exposed a little
Right.
bit, but that never happened.
That wasn't
right?
the case.
They
no.
just
He
moved
just
him
went
to-
somewhere else.
He went to another school.
Yeah. He
Right.
got let go of.
Right.
I guess. Right.
So when she met with
Yeah.
you, she was basically just covering
Right.
the
Mhm.
the organization's back. She didn't
Yeah.
want it to come out to the police.
She wanted me to be quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they never really got you help, or you never
No.
saw a counselor or
No.
anything like
No.
that.
No.
Looking back, if that was your daughter,
I wouldn't have taken it from them anyway.
You wouldn't have?
No.
Okay.
No.
But doesn't that break your heart that they weren't willing to do, like, didn't it make, well, I'm not trying to put words in, did it make you feel less than, like you, like almost like you didn't matter? What mattered was the school, and what mattered was him.
Well, yeah, of
and
course.
his,
Yeah.
Talk about that. Like, what?
I mean, I never really mattered anyway to her, or to. I mean, the only reason she was talking to me is because I gave her something to talk about. You know.
Right.
But yeah, of course that made me feel horrible. It was embarrassing. You know, I blamed myself for years, and finally, you know, just up until the last few years, I don't think about it anymore. I really don't think about it anymore. Every once in a while, if something's said, but it's not in my brain. Like, I'm not having dreams about it all the time.
Right.
But yeah, I felt like crap for years, and no one ever reached out to me and asked how I was doing or how things were going. But you know, it does. It affected my life.
Yeah.
You know, in a negative way. But luckily I rose above it, and
yeah, and you're,
you know,
I mean, you're doing
and
awesome.
I'm a
now,
Christian, thank God, and
Yeah.
God really helped me through a lot of that. But a lot I had to work out myself. So yeah, no.
The spiritual leaders weren't.
No, the
supporting
spiritual
you.
leaders were not being spiritual leaders. No, 100% no.
Yeah, because some of
So,
those guys
yeah.
were supposed to keep
Mhm.
Doug. Because the way I understood it was, there was two things that happened. There was
Yeah.
something they knew something had happened when you were younger,
Right.
and they got that note. And then there was supposed to be a pastor at the church that was
Mhm.
supposed to keep Doug accountable. So he didn't
Yeah.
get dismissed right away. They knew he had a crush on a student,
Hmm.
and they didn't let it. They didn't do anything about it. They just
Right.
this guy was supposed to keep Doug, this person, accountable, and they did not,
Right.
or they whatever, because he kept doing it.
Right.
And then there was an incident where it came into everybody's face. This is when
Right.
you were older, and you were actually a senior.
Right.
And then that's when Jeannie flew back, because I was working for Jeannie at the time,
Mhm.
and I knew she had told me stuff that had happened, and said that she had to fly back and quote unquote fix it, or what'd she say, clean it up,
Right.
which I thought it meant like get you help.
You really thought that at the time?
Yeah,
Well,
I really did.
Wow.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
yeah.
I mean, what kind of help would she have got me? I mean,
Well,
I
she
don't-
should have. Well, this is what she should have done.
Yeah.
She should have called the police and
Yeah.
reported him to the authorities.
Right.
And then he
Right.
should have lost his
Yeah.
teaching, because who
Right. And
knows?
You should
Right.
have been in counseling.
Right.
Right.
You're not with her. but-
Right. Yeah.
Right.
They should.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
I've said
Yeah.
this on the podcast before, but I went to a church in Kearney
Yeah.
where they had a similar situation. It was not exactly the same, but that Sunday that we went for our first Sunday, they had a guy that they had found out that he was touching students
Mhm.
down in the nursery. So they made it. They put it on the they made it public. They made a
Mhm.
big deal out of it. Got the kids the help. They got the guy in trouble. Police came, arrested him. I mean, there was no ambiguity. What's the word? Ambiguity. It was
Ambiguous.
like it was very clear
Mhm.
what needed to be done. And I know it was years ago, but it doesn't matter, Jen. You got the message that you
Right.
didn't matter.
Yeah.
And
Well,
all those years you went by thinking, no big deal. This guy
Yeah.
went on to be a pretty
Now that
big
you know-
legend.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go
I know
ahead.
you're supposed to ask.
Yeah.
No, and you know what? To be honest with you, that has been the hardest thing. Looking at all these years, him being at Millard West. Am
Bellevue
I
West.
allowed to
Bellevue
say that?
Yeah. Bellevue
I don't
West.
care.
Bellevue West.
Oh yeah, sorry. And people praise him like a god, and I'm sitting in the background going, if you guys only knew. And I've actually tried calling Bellevue schools, and I did tell them what he did, and they did nothing about it.
Well,
yeah. So I mean, I just didn't feel like, and I do know, and I don't know. I mean, I guess if I can say it, if I can, I can. I don't know, but I'm going to say it. I know I was not the only one. So he should have never gone on to the next school. He shouldn't have gone on to any school, But a big part of me, in which I was really happy, and I know I'm going off a little bit, and you can
go off.
circle back around, but I felt like, and I'm glad this is happening, because I felt like I never got my, not just my redemption but I felt like me not saying something, I'm not helping any other girl that happens to after me. Like, I felt like I let a lot of people down by not doing something like this, or like, and I guess that's why I did try to call Bellevue schools, because I felt like, oh my gosh, I can't bear to think that some other girl is going to go 25 years like I did, feeling ashamed and feeling crappy about herself and feeling like it was her fault. And I'm the one that needs to apologize. It took me years to realize that I don't have to say sorry for anything. Sorry to God, because I was 16 and 17, but still,
no, it doesn't
wasn't
matter. I mean,
my
you were a
fault.
baby.
And it took me a long time to realize that. Right.
It
wasn't my fault.
Right.
But yeah, so I am actually glad we're doing this, because I feel like I'm helping somebody else come forward if they need to come forward.
Yeah. Not just with this person, but maybe
with anything, not with him.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying, but some other
Maybe,
person that went through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows? We don't know if he went on, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, we do.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But But bottom line is
not
that
you.
you're doing the right thing by doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that after, when I wrote the book and I put this story in the book, you and I talked, and you gave me permission to be able to do that. There was more people that came out from Rockford, and then Atlanta. She got in trouble for actually covering up sexual predatory behavior for with leaders. And so the same motive that has to drive you a little bit. Now it's like knowing that this coach was wrong, right, and it was awful, and he needs to be held accountable for what he did. But the cover up, I think, is just as bad.
Oh, it's disgusting.
What do you think?
Of course, it made me sick. Like, what these people are supposed to, it made me actually question the church quite a lot. Why this is supposed to be a place where you're supposed to feel safe, and this woman just keep going. If anything, it made me feel the opposite. But why does she get to keep continuing to do what she wants to do, and no one's calling her out on it? Yeah. I mean, this is a long time coming. Honestly, I mean, it's about time somebody says something, before she can hurt somebody else. And she had it in her power. She was given that authority to do something about it years ago. My situation, other situations were, but she didn't. She chose not to, because it didn't do anything for her in a positive way.
Is that what you think? You think she was covering? It would have hurt her. You think?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
isn't that kind of selfish?
Dumb person would know that answer, right? I mean,
I'm kind of dumb.
No, I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm saying, yeah, of course. I mean, she's selfish. She's out for herself. Yeah. She always has been.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because you saw that early on with the
listen. God gave me something as a child, and I really good judge of character. I really am. I know a piece of crap when I see one. I do. And I never liked her. In fact, we had a reunion year, I don't know, it was I don't know how long, I think it was 15 years. I don't know. Anyway, it was at the church. She was going to be on the big screen and say hi. And my sister wanted me to go with her. And I was like, oh no. I know she's like, well, she's not going to be there. And, and I'm like, absolutely not. I don't want anything to do with her. I don't even want to look at her face.
Right.
Why does she have to do with the reunion? Why is she going to be on there? Yeah. Because everybody that was there was so excited to acted like she was God.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
Yeah.
you know.
And there's
Sorry, I
been-
got off on a
No,
tangent.
no,
but
you're good. You're good.
No, I didn't go. I was like, no, I'm good.
Good for you.
We got Facebook. I can see everybody on there, you know.
There was
So,
people
yeah.
that we've talked to from Bellevue
Yeah.
Christian Academy that said the same thing. Like basically,
Yeah.
they don't want now that like there was a lot of people that really did buy into her stuff, right?
Yeah.
They really believed her,
Yeah.
and now they like.
It's
There's
sad.
not too many people that are really defending her anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all kind of seeing the light. I had a teacher reach out to me that
Oh yeah.
that was she went to Rockford. She ended up going to Rockford
Okay.
too. So and she doesn't talk to her at all now. And
Yeah.
we've had some good conversations. But
Right.
I guess it just breaks my heart because I remember the one time you and I met out somewhere and I asked you, we were talking about the Doug thing.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll just say his name.
Uh-huh.
And
Might as well.
yeah, we talked about
Yeah.
it, and I remember when I was kind of asking you questions about it, you were mad at Doug for sure. I mean, that whole thing was pretty messy,
Mhm.
but when I mentioned Jeannie's name,
It made me even more mad, huh?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. Probably
Why do you think that is?
blaming her, and just set Doug aside because I don't want to even give him that much credibility because he doesn't deserve it.
Right.
She made me feel like crap besides him. She just wasn't very nice. Like she just, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I never liked her.
Yeah, she was probably intimidated by you too. To be honest, I shouldn't say that, but I mean,
A
my
16-year-old,
well,
that's weird. But
yeah,
I mean, but she is too. So
Yeah.
that would make sense.
yeah,
So there's a lot of different ways that people can use people, right? Obviously,
Mhm.
this teacher used you in one way. Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you feel like she used you in a different but just as harmful, deceitful, evil way?
Let me do the question again. So Brian just asked
Mhm.
if there was all kinds of ways of hurting people and using people. He just wanted to know, like, do you think that you put it on? You're asking if it's the same scale. Like, is
Yeah.
it? Do you like Doug? That was awful what he did,
Right.
but what she did was awful too.
Right.
How do you compare it, or do you?
I think they're pretty much both the same. I mean, they were both in on it together. I mean, they're both guilty.
Right.
So did I answer that right? I mean, even though she didn't do anything physically to me, she did emotionally. It was complete emotional abuse. I would say that's a good fitting word for that. I mean, yeah,
She
Yeah.
intimidated you basically to keep quiet.
right,
Like,
right.
do not say anything.
And I was a young kid back then. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if I was the person I am now, I mean, it'd be completely different. I wish I was. Because now I'm very not quiet. But
Right.
back then I'm terrified. I mean, number one, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed in front of my family, my peers.
Right.
Yeah, it was.
So she kind of
I'm gonna
used
be
shame.
quiet.
Do you think she used shame?
Of
like
course she
shame.
did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you felt like. You felt like she was shaming
Shamed,
you.
yeah. And that
Okay.
shame, carried on for a long time.
Well, you had no power. There was a
Right,
lack of power
right.
dynamic, and that's why
Mhm.
kids are supposed to be protected.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And there was no
And They
protection.
did not protect you.
No.
And
Yeah.
that was her job.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Because she was principal of the school.
Well, she wasn't
Or
principal. She was
superintendent.
superintendent. Right. Yeah. Well, she
Mhm.
was ahead of that, which is even
Mhm.
worse.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So she
So-
put their reputation over your well-being.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
I didn't really matter. I mean, I was just another student.
Yeah,
know?
but if that had come out,
Yeah.
that would have really been in their mind a
And it
black
did
eye.
eventually. Yeah. But
Yeah. Well,
Then-
everybody was gone now.
Right.
She was gone, and she was. I remember her
Yeah.
being frantic, going back to try to smooth
Yeah.
things over, and there was a lot of other things going on because I think the church leadership also. Brian and I have discussed this on the podcast that they knew. They knew what was going on. I know they
Right.
knew because I had conversations. I worked for them
yeah.
10 years later. So I
Yeah.
came back to Bellevue as the youth pastor there and had
Yeah.
conversations with Rick. And
Oh,
But
And-
just before we leave that, I
I'm
mean,
Yeah.
frankly, if it had been the drama teacher or,
Yeah.
someone who didn't hold the position of prominence and was part and parcel of the reputation of the school and, was kind of a outward face, kind of a billboard for the school, right?
Mhm.
If it had been
Yeah.
somebody like that, I mean, I worked there at the time. I really believe it would have been handled differently.
Mhm.
I mean, that person would have been let go. They might have
Yeah.
kept it undercover, but that person would have been dealt with like immediately. And so the thing I'm observing as I'm listening to your story again is that part of this is so heinous because it's placing not only it's placing the reputation of the institution, and anybody who knows the Mayos know that they were part and parcel with everything. I mean, it was them, it was the institution, it was the whole thing. Putting that ahead of the emotional and spiritual and every other kind of well-being of a 15-year-old girl.
Right. Yeah.
Which is
I
sad.
agree.
Which is really, yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I agree with you on that. I mean, it's, yeah.
And the people that worked under her followed suit with that because they knew. I
Right.
mean, and how did you feel about that when you
Well,
knew that some of those the pastors, Gary and Lori, knew?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is and the thing was, is they all knew about it. I mean, I knew the looks I was getting from it. Pretty much the whole pastoral staff did know,
Yeah.
but nobody ever came directly to me and said, "Hey,
How
we're
are
sorry
you?
about what happened to you. That's too bad. Is there anything we can do to
They
help?"
never did it. Never
Nobody
reached out?
ever did. No,
Wow.
no.
Even the youth pastor, because Rick was the youth pastor at the time.
No, he was sorry. No, he was just like she was. Sorry. I'm not sorry. I don't even, did he even know my name? That's the way he made me feel. He
Yeah.
was just he mirrored her. He never gave me the time of day either. He just brushed past me. And you know what? I know that I was a younger girl, I was younger and whatnot, but, and I was shy, but I mean, I was never approached.
Yeah.
No. So, yeah.
So on that, fast forward to about a year ago.
Yeah.
I had been ignorant of this whole thing until probably just a couple of years ago. And I reached out. Well, actually, Lori talked to your mom and asked if there's anything she could do. And your mom said, talk to Brian.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a phone conversation with both Gary and Lori, and they told me that they were going to reach out to you. And I'm wondering, number one, did they ever reach out to you? And if they did, how do you feel about how they did that?
Okay, so yes, Lori did. She sent me a text, and
Text.
yeah, she sent me a text. Yeah, I didn't hear from Gary, which I barely talked to him either. So, yeah, Lori reached out basically, and apologized, said she didn't know, and
Said she didn't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, and I know, I'm not dumb. So yes, I knew that she knew. I knew all of them knew. I think a lot of people are trying to cover their tracks and, play dumb, and it is what it is. Don't lie about it. But yeah, I answered back nicely. I always liked her. I did. I always kind of felt, though, secretly deep down, why in the world hasn't, anybody ever tried to, I think Lori tried to talk to me a few times during my 20s.
Because didn't you do her nails or do her?
I do her lashes. Yeah, but that was aesthetics. But that was actually 4 or 5 years ago. But we never talked about that. Like, life has moved on since then. You know what I mean?
You never talked about what happened.
No. I don't like talking about that. I'm only talking because I'm with you guys right now. But yeah. So I wasn't mean on the text, but she did reach out. She didn't call. Gary didn't call. And quite frankly, I didn't want to call. I mean, yeah, that probably was the right thing to do. But that's the last thing I want to do is talk to anybody about it. Yeah, but I don't have time for that.
I know,
whatever,
But did it? Okay, I get that, and I appreciate
Right.
you being.
Oh, I'm being
Talk.
honest. I
Okay.
really, I don't.
But don't. I mean,
Yeah.
isn't that kind of another message? Like you're not important enough for
Well,
a phone call?
everyone's just trying to save face, and
Yeah.
it's really not important. I mean, life has moved on. I think people are like, "Get over it, Jen. Get over it." You know what? I have. You don't just get over something like that.
No.
Number one, that's easy for somebody to say when they haven't been through it, and somebody didn't take their innocence from them
That's what you
and
feel.
steal 35 years of their life. Yeah, of course he did.
Yeah.
And how did he steal 35 years of your life? Do you
Well-
feel like it's negatively impact you?
Right.
for
Yeah.
many
But like I
years?
said, I've healed. I really have. I truly believe I have. That's why I'm doing this. I think if I wasn't healed, I couldn't do this.
Right.
So, right. So yeah, but yeah, I haven't heard from anybody, and I really don't care. But
Yeah.
right, they should.
That's what I'm trying
But
to get to.
they should,
Yeah.
but don't care.
Yeah.
A little too late, you know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, now this is all coming out. Now you're gonna, you know,
Right. A book came
do
out.
the right
so now
thing.
They have to.
You're right. The book that, yeah.
So now they have to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of sad, and
Yeah.
I wish they would have done the right thing.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question,
Mhm.
and Brian has brought this up in some of our podcasts too. If they had just, like even back then, had just taken you aside and said, "Listen,
Yeah.
we know what happened. We're really sorry.
hmm
Is there anything we can do for you?" What would that have meant to you? Do you think, even as in your 20s, like, if they had just said,
Yeah.
"Hey, we own this. We knew something was going
Yeah.
on. We didn't know everything. Whatever they're going to say."
Yeah.
But they owned at least part of it. How would that have affected you? Think?
Well, I mean, it would have softened the blow a little bit. Maybe I could have, taken back some of those years that I did lose and just feeling shame. I guess all these years I've always felt like they all shamed me. So maybe it would have been nice if somebody would have said, "Hey, it wasn't your fault. We're sorry. We should have, gotten him and helped you and checked on you and whatnot." But no, nobody ever did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have helped. I think it would have helped healing a
Well, you
little
said
bit
it took
faster.
several years
Oh.
for you to get to the point
Oh,
where
yeah.
you didn't think it was your fault.
Yeah, I mean, my mom and
So
I went to
if-
California,
Yeah.
out to Redding, California, so I could get some counseling over it. I mean, it was still, that was just like 12 years ago, So I think slowly, surely I just, yeah. You know what? I forgive. I never forgot, and I won't.
Right.
But I think my forgiveness, which I'm like, you know what? Me not forgiving is making it worse. So if I forgive, then I think that's how I can move on. And so I do forgive,
good.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
And I've known you for 40
Yeah.
years, and
Yeah.
we've talked through and you can definitely see that you
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
definitely gotten some healing on it and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
My heart just goes out to that 35 years, just
Mhm.
of things, that could have been,
Yeah.
would have been, should have been.
Right.
That whole time you're thinking, this was my fault. I ruined this
Mhm.
guy's life, because that's the way they made you feel.
Right.
And that kind of pisses me off. I'll just be
Right.
honest with you.
Yeah.
And for you,
Yeah.
makes me hurt for you. And
Yeah.
so many other kids out there that have been, and she does have a history of covering up other sexual predatory, predators. And I wonder how those people feel right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it does two things, because it keeps the sexual predator
Mhm.
going.
Right.
If
Right.
it gets covered
'Cause
up,
they're not-
you can go hurt other people,
Yeah.
and then the victims don't get the support
And
and the
that's-
healing that they need.
That's why it
Mhm.
should have been stopped the minute he
Mhm.
was let go of after my scenario. He
Right.
should have never moved on to the next high school,
Right.
and they could have stopped that, and they didn't.
Right.
So that falls back on them, her.
No,
Right.
he retired as a teacher, or as an educator.
Now he has, but
Yeah.
he went all these
That's
years.
what I'm saying. He spent his whole career.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He got to retire. Yeah, that was disgusting. All the congratulations. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh gosh.
Just for the
They
viewers
only
know,
know.
he's
Yeah.
he's a big name in this state, and he was celebrated on the news
Yeah.
because he won a bunch of
Yeah.
championships and
As a
Click.
coach,
stuff.
yeah.
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 So, and nobody's trying to hurt anybody, but
No.
there should have been justice for you.
Right.
That's the issue. Is
Yeah.
there should have been justice for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going after anybody. All
Yeah.
the statute of limitations are probably over. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
Justice
But-
and healing and
Right.
keeping kids safe.
Right.
Right.
Can we just keep the kids safe?
Right.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So
yeah. Thank you.
you're welcome. It was
Do you
fun.
have
I mean,
any-
I guess as fun as it could be, right?
I had a couple laughs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we love you, and what a brave thing.
Good to hang out with you guys. Yeah.
What a brave thing to do,
Yeah.
to tell your story. You know?
Well, it was time to get it out, you know.
I do have something.
Yeah.
to say. So, thank you, Jen, for having the courage to come on and to tell your story. And thank you for telling it in a way that it can really reach out and touch people in a way that can help them get healing. And I mean, I just want to say, what Jen and I share in common is the time we spent at the high school. And I just especially want to say, any of you who were part of that school or that situation at that time, and you suffered any kind of abuse, spiritual, emotional, any kind of abuse. I just want to let you know that it's not you, it's them. And you can find healing for that and whatever you carried. And we would just, if you would feel open to reach out to us, we would just love to talk with you, not necessarily on camera, on podcast. If you want to come on, we'd love to have you, but anything we can do to help. We realize it was a really not a good situation in a lot of ways because of some of the leadership. Staff was great. Some of the leadership was a little questionable, but hopefully, especially for that, I'll call you an elite group. If you haven't found, healing and freedom from some of the things that happened to you at that time, just know that there is, and we would love to help you in any way we can.
Just to close this, there's a quote that got quoted to all of us all the time in leadership. It's all it takes for evil to prosper is for good people to do nothing. And I heard that come out of Jeannie's mouth. And that's, somebody asked me today, I got a phone call today from somebody up in Rockford, and they binge watched all the podcasts. And then they said, really got a lot out of it. But he said, Mike, I know you, and it feels like, you're angry at sometimes. And I didn't say, oh no, I'm not, brother. I said, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I'm angry.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to be destructive with my anger. And Brian, we both feel the same way, that we don't want to be destructive. The Bible says be angry, but don't be destructive. Don't be sinful. Don't use it for your selfish gain. Try not to do that. But when you get somebody sitting next to you that should not have happened, that should not have happened. That should not have happened. That shouldn't have happened. And good people said nothing. Good people. And they're good people. People we mention all the time. They're good people, but they said nothing because they were scared. They were cowards at the time. And you know what? I'm calling them out. And I'm not going to be that person either. So, we're going to tell the truth about what happened and what's going on, because it's not just this situation. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. This is all over the country, where leaders are saying nothing because they're scared of losing their jobs. They're scared of, what the consequences that will happen to them if they do tell the truth. Well, you know what? She's worth it. And that's what she needed to hear when she was 16, not now. I mean, now too, but she was worth it. And God loves her, and God loves all the victims, and God even loves the perpetrators, but he loves them enough to call them to accountability. Like, that's the issue, is he loves them enough to call them to the carpet and say enough is enough, because you're better than this. And there's more to you than this. I actually talked to this coach myself, told him the book was coming out, and had a 2-hour conversation with him. And I know he has remorse. I know he made mistakes and he feels bad about it, but he's never talked to her. He didn't own up to what he should have done what he did. And, he didn't own up to it. So yeah, I'm calling him out too. Do what you need to do. Own your sin, own your issues. And those of you that covered it up, yeah, I am a little angry at you because, and those of you that continue to cover her up and put her endorsement on your website and all the, making her into a hero, will you please stop it? Will you please stop it? It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I just wanted to just say that.
Okay.
Thank you. I want you to close us up because I just got mean.
No, I couldn't have said it any better. He said it. So enough is enough. I think a lot of lives have been hurt because of her. And it's time that she hears it from people that didn't matter to her then, that do have a voice now. So, yeah. All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know this was kind of an intense one, Jen. Thank you so much.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, you're awesome. Don't forget that we have, Brian, I'm going to rename it. It's Groomed. Groomed in 10 because we tried to do Groomed in 5. It's just not working. It was 9 minutes and like 37 seconds.
Oh.
So we're doing Groomed in 10. So Thursday-ish. Yeah, we even that. But we got to keep it to 10. All right. So, all right. We'll see you guys next week. God bless you guys. Take care.